Every island in Hawaii is uniquely special. I think we can all agree on that. And that's what makes choosing one island so difficult. Oahu, Maui, Kauai, and the Big Island, Hawaii Island, are not four versions of the same vacation. So today, I'm giving you one simple question for each island to help you figure out which one fits your trip. Aloha and welcome to Hawaii's Best. I'm Brian Murphy, Hawaii destination expert and your personal guide to planning an unforgettable trip to Hawaii. Today, we're answering one of the biggest questions in all of Hawaii planning questions. Which island should you visit? I don't think the best question is which one is best. I think the better question is which island fits the kind of trip that you actually want. Maybe if you've been to Hawaii before, this time around, what type of trip are you hoping for? The island I'd recommend for your first trip may be totally different from the one I'd recommend for your honeymoon, your baby moon, your family vacation, or your slower, quieter getaway. That really does matter, the type of trip that you're wanting. So think of this episode as like your starting point. I'll give you a clear take on each island, and if one grabs you or speaks to you, I have a full guide, a companion guide for each of the islands, and all of that will be linked below. But quick news, this is pretty cool. I already announced it about a week ago. If you're visiting Oahu anytime soon, it's a new 90-day pilot shuttle called North Shore Huaka'i, and recently was launched on Oahu, and it's running from Waikiki and Ko'olina, the two biggest resort areas on the island. And it runs up to the North Shore, runs up to Waialua and Haleiwa, and it's just a $5 round trip. So the ride to shuttle back to either Waikiki or Ko'olina, you need to show proof that you bought something, that you participated in one of the North Shore businesses. And I think that's really easy to do. Anyone going up to the North Shore is probably going to be stopping off and getting something to eat or just doing some shopping. So I actually like that rule. I don't think it's like a bait and switch. It's really what this pilot program is designed to do. It's not just a cheap ride. It's built to give visitors spending money with local businesses, especially since they're still recovering from the March Kona low storms that just wreaked havoc over in that area. But seats are limited. I've got a full breakdown and booking links in the show notes below. Be sure to check that out. And if you're still not sure which island fits you, I put together a Hawaii Island Matcher quiz that you can go ahead and take after this episode or by going to hawaiisbesttravel.com/island quiz. Okay, so before we talk islands, here's my one rule. For most trips of, say, like a week or less, just choose one island. I know island hopping that may have even popped in your head as I was going through the intro, like choosing one island. Why don't you just do them all? I know that island hopping, it can sound like a dream. And if you have a longer trip, it can work. But if you only have like 5, 6, or 7 nights, moving islands usually costs you more than it gives you back. So you got to pack, you got to check out, you got to drive to the airport, return the rental car, wait, fly, get another rental car, and check in somewhere else. And if you're doing that with family, you could just multiply that by 10 because it just complicates things even more. So by the time that you're done with all that, you've lost a big chunk of a precious vacation day. So for a week or less, I usually say like pick one island and go deeper. If you're traveling as a couple, you might be able to do 2 islands if you're staying a week. So for a week or less, pick one island and go deeper on that island. And if you have 10 nights or more, that's when a second island, I think, really starts to make sense. Okay, let's talk specifically about the islands. The question for Oahu that I want to leave you with is, do you want the most options with the least stress? Oahu receives more visitors than any other Hawaiian island. In 2025, about 5.7 million people spent their time on Oahu. And there's a huge obvious reason for that. Oahu has the most flights, the most hotels, restaurant options, tours, and visitor infrastructure than any of the other islands. You stay in Waikiki and you've got beach, food, shopping, and tours all close by. You may not even need to rent a car in Waikiki. Waikiki is busy, it's touristy, yes, and I won't pretend otherwise, but it's also genuinely convenient. My wife and I, we've stayed in Waikiki, just her and I, a few times, and we really like that option of just not having to rent a car and just bumming around town while we're there. The food scene is strong, a lot of options. And for our first trip, there's something nice about just, walking to breakfast or going to the beach, watching the sunset right there in Waikiki. But Oahu is not only Waikiki. That's the mistake I don't want you to make, because that can confuse a lot of people. Allie and I found this out on a trip when we were staying at the Kahala, which is outside of Waikiki. So we wanted somewhere local for dinner, not just the closest hotel restaurant. And Allie found this place called Beachside Kitchen. I've talked to them before on the podcast, and we've had them on the podcast, but we found them on Yelp. And it turned out to be one of those really cool moments and memories that kind of has stuck with us. And it was nothing fancy, but it was just good local food, super warm, super inviting. So shout out to B-Side. Check them out if you're staying on Oahu. But that's what Oahu does really well. You can have the easy hotel and beach trip. You can also find local spots, the North Shore, like we mentioned, Windward, Oahu over on the east side, and neighborhoods that feel completely different from where you started that morning. So if you want variety, easier logistics, and the most flexibility, Oahu is really the hardest island to get wrong. It's honestly my favorite island. It's got all the sides are unique and have their own personality, which I really love. So I'm going to link my Oahu travel guide below in the show notes. So let's go ahead and let's hop over to Maui. The question for Maui that I would want to leave you with is, do you want the classic Hawaii vacation, and are you willing to pay more for it? So Maui was the second most visited island in 2025, and that was about 2.5 million visitors visited Maui. For a lot of travelers, Maui is what they picture when they think of Hawaii. You got resort beaches, sunset dinners, whale watching season, Haleakala. It's a strong fit for honeymoons, anniversaries. We've done an anniversary over there on Maui. It was great. And it's great also for families who want beach time mixed with a few big experiences. But here's where I'd be careful about Maui. Don't plan Maui like a checklist. The Road to Hana, for example, is one of those most famous drives in Hawaii, if not the world. But if you rush it, it turns more stressful than memorable. And it's like, I feel stuck. You feel like you have to go all the way to Hana. No, you don't have to go all the way to the town of Hana. That is a very long day. Some people should drive it themselves. Others enjoy it more with a guided local tour. That's what I usually recommend for a first timer. So same idea with Haleakala Sunrise. It can be incredible, but you do need reservations. So you don't want to leave that for the night before. And if whales are on your list of must-sees, Maui is one of the best islands for that. And you have peak season generally from January through March. Now, really, the honest part, and I've already said it, Maui tends to run more expensive than Oahu, really than any of the other islands. Hotels, rental cars, food, and activities add up really fast. Recent hotel averages have been running around $500 plus a night in, higher travel periods. And obviously we've seen it more than that, but that's just kind of the average, though that shifts by season and property and side of the island and et cetera. So be sure to price out the full trip prior to arriving or prior to your planning. I have a trip calculator that I will include in the show notes as well. All right, now we're going to go ahead and island hop over to Kauai. And the one question that I would want to pose for you would be, do you want to feel like you actually got away, like you actually went on vacation? Really, that's where Kauai delivers. It's called the Garden Isle, and it really fits. It's green, it's dramatic, it's a lot slower, and it's less built up than Oahu and Maui. No building is above a coconut tree is kind of the law there. And in 2025, it had about 1.4 million visitors. So the biggest thing I would tell you about Kauai is you have to move with the pace of the island. If you show up, still in like mainland mode, especially if you're coming from the West Coast or LA, SoCal area, trying to force every hour and control every plan, you're going to have a rough time. The roads are slower, the weather shifts, the North Shore gets rain, and dinner spots may close earlier than you expect. There's really no night nightlife scene. I should go back and mention Waikiki has probably, if you're looking for that like nightlife, Waikiki has that. Kauai definitely does not have that. Kauai really rewards those who base their time with the sun. They get up with the sun and they start to slow down when the sun goes down. But if you let the island set the pace, it can be one of the most meaningful trips you can take. We loved it, especially when our girls are getting older. We have 3 girls. A couple are in high school now, and we love the pace of Kauai. We still really love Oahu, but we love the pace of Kauai, and just the views are just incredible on that island. Na Pali Coast is like that postcard image. It's huge, sea cliffs, deep valleys, ocean views. Barely looks real. It's just like postcard. Waimea Canyon is also really cool. It's called the Grand Canyon of the Pacific, and honestly, it fits that name. I remember my first time going up to the Waimea Canyon lookout, and kind of leaves you in awe. Not as much as the Grand Canyon. I remember my first time going to the Grand Canyon, and he just kind of takes your breath away a little bit. Waimea Canyon definitely does do that to some extent as well. But a huge portion of Kauai isn't reachable by road at all. Which is part of what makes it feel kind of wild and protected. A lot of places you can only reach by boat or by helicopter. Like if you want to tour the Na Pali Coast, I would recommend doing like a boat tour. A lot of people do helicopter tours, though that can be kind of controversial. I'm not a expert on the safety of helicopters, but I'll leave that up to you and what you want to do. But this is one of the most popular places in Hawaii to do helicopter tours and to do boat tours. The Na Pali Coast is really the only way to go to see it. One planning note as far as reservations go when you're visiting Kauai, Haena State Park or the Kalalau Trail area for non-residents need advance reservation. So don't assume you can just show up and do that. Also, the lighthouse, the Kilauea Lighthouse needs advance reservations as well. So if you want scenery, quiet, hiking, and a real sense of just getting away, Kauai is really hard to beat. And if you want that nightlife, shopping, and easiest logistics, it's probably not your island. But honestly, that's why I love Kauai as well. So I'll link my Kauai travel guide below in the show notes. All right, last but certainly not least, the Big Island, Hawaii Island, or now officially just Hawaii. The question for the Big Island is, do you want a trip that keeps surprising you? And let me kind of unpack with what I mean by that. In 2025, about 1.75 million visitors spent time on the Big Island. So that's fewer than Oahu and Maui, but the island itself is bigger than all the other main islands combined. That means longer drives and planning by region instead of by what looks close on a map. We spent Christmas on the Big Island a couple years ago, and it was a great fit for the trip. It wasn't busy. I thought it'd be a lot more busy, especially going during Christmas break, but maybe we just got lucky. But it was really nice. It felt more spread out, a little bit more rugged, a little less touristy, but still there's resort areas as well. You can get out of those areas pretty quickly. And really, we just loved our time on the Big Island. That size is the whole appeal, being spread out. You've got the sunnier side of the island, which is the Kona Coast, beaches. You have lava fields, rainforest near Hilo, high elevation areas around Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa. You also got black sand beaches, coffee farms. Amazing. We went to a coffee plantation, did a tour. It was so good. Obviously, you have Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. Just briefly about the volcano, Kilauea, and its activity that's been happening for about 2 years now. Volcano activity can shift quickly in either direction. So don't plan your whole trip around seeing active lava. Plan around Hawaii Volcanoes National Park because it's worth visiting either way, if there's active lava flow or if there's not. To get up to date on that, you can just check Hawaii Volcano Observatory close to your travel dates. Also, the National Park website is a great place to go for up-to-date info because it changes sometimes on the daily. A few other things to know about, some of the best things to do. Manta Ray night snorkeling off Kona is one of the most incredible ocean experiences in Hawaii. And also Punalu'u Black Sand Beach is another great stop. just give vihunu, the sea turtles, plenty of space if you happen to spot them there, which you probably will. Also, another thing to remember about the Big Island is you need a rental car. I didn't mention that for the other islands. You do, except for Oahu. If you're staying like in Waikiki, you probably don't need a rental car. I mentioned that. But on Kauai, on Maui, and especially the Big Island, you definitely need a rental car. That's something you want to get as early as possible. Really, a car isn't optional, and the island is just too spread out to just wing it and try to like get Ubered across the island, which can take an hour and a half. So really, it comes down to this. If you want the most options with the least amount of stress, choose Oahu. If you want the classic Hawaii vacation and you're okay paying a little bit more for it, then Maui is your island. If you want to feel like you actually got away, choose Kauai. And if you want a trip that's a little bit spread out and has some dramatic scenery, Big Island is for you. But if you're still stuck, you want a little bit more guidance, take the Island Matcher quiz at hawaiisbesttravel.com/island quiz, and then go listen to the full guide of whichever island you land on. I'll link that all below. All right. Well, thanks for making it all the way to the end of this episode. If it helped you plan for your trip, I would just humbly ask you to go ahead and hit follow on your podcast app if you're listening on Apple or Spotify. All right. So until next time, as always, live with aloha. Mahalo for listening to Hawaii's Best. If you found today's episode helpful, make sure to hit follow on your podcast app so you don't miss future episodes. You can find all links and resources mentioned today in the show notes below. Hawaii's Best is produced by Shorebreak Media Group, edited by Easy Podcast Solutions, and with music by our friends Stick Figure.